All right, sounds good. Hey, you're a little dark.
I know. I got to get lighting. It's a new office.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You look good, though. You look good.
Thank you. I feel good.
Awesome, man.
Let's do it. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, we're gonna go live, Mike.
All right,
Okay.
sounds good, man.
1 second here.
Cool. I feel like this light's like just spotlighting on my face right here. Oh, man.
You're gonna be doing that with makeup one day.
I don't want to, man. I just want to be quiet and just work.
Yeah, you just want to be about your business, and yeah, but the world needs to hear from you.
I mean, yeah, there is some stuff that, should be clarified for newer guys going into it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and that's kind of what we're getting set up here.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get the show started here. Hello, everyone. I'm Martin Sines with Note Investing Made Easier, and I too long for days where I could be just operating under a rock and out of public view and everything. But here we are, and you and I, Mike Solis with One Oak Advisory, and we had such a good time together last October that I knew that we had to come back on. I feel like we have a connection here, you and I.
Sure.
East Coast, West Coast. So welcome to the program.
I appreciate you having me on, man. Martin, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we first met when at the IMN conference in Fort Lauderdale, and last January, not this past January, but last January, and man, you were like a firecracker. You were just going, just like bop, 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 telling me about everything you've been doing in the note space. And so my first thought is like, is this guy just blowing smoke? What's his deal? And then, as we kind of just connected, I'm like, man, this guy is on fire. He's taking over, he's doing big things in the industry. So, from that point, I know that we've made that connection. So
What was that?
How have you been?
Oh, I've been busy, man. Been busy. We recently took down probably about 100 units, and there's a lot of work after you buy. I mean, I'm just getting to the check right is awesome, but when you realize that you have these loans and you got to manage them like starting now, it's there's a lot of balls that you're juggling, but there's certain systems that I'm following based off the smaller trades that I've done, but it's just more babysitting, I would say, more babysitting and lighting fires. But it's been good, man. I'm excited.
So how does this all work? And we got to go, for a lot of people that don't know you or your background, we'll touch on that in a minute. But I assume this just doesn't magically come together where you get an opportunity and you have investors lined up. You have, first of all, you have opportunity to the deal flow, and then you have investors line up, and then you know what you're doing from a vetting perspective, and you kind of put it all together and win the takedown. Right?
Yeah, I mean, this one was I think I could probably relate to most of the guys who have no cash, who are just in it and just trying to go, sky's the limit. This one was a decent check, right? Where, there was so many things going on. But starting off, by the deal flow, being able to see it, I wasn't even invited to participate in looking at this portfolio. It was a much larger portfolio, and you were allowed to carve. But even that carve was going to be a decent check, where I felt, it's a little overwhelming, but I know that if you find the deal, you can find the money. And that was how I went about that. But I had to pretty much force myself into the room so I can get a look at that tape. And it worked out that I was able to get a decent size of that trade. But it wasn't like they were inviting me, man. I had to force my way into it all day.
No doubt. And so you've just put it out there. You were involved in a major trade. There was a carve out that was placed on your lap, and you'll probably get maybe 2 people out of the 200 that watch this off the bat, punch you up to find out if they can break into the deal flow somehow.
Right.
So that's kind of how it goes. But let's take a step back and let's just start, with the the rookie Michael, when you were just kind of getting into the space. How did that person look at the time when you were just getting started?
Oh man, it's overwhelming. It was super overwhelming, but it was exciting because in 2008, when the market crashed, there was a good year of people trying to find their way around life. And if they were in the mortgage business, they either went to doing modifications for mod companies, or they were looking to try to buy these loans, because the rumor was there was these loans on the street and you can buy them. And that was like a whole new world for me. Plus, I thought that was the exit for me, where I can actually get back on my feet again, because 2008 rocked me. So the first 2 years was stumbling, and not a penny to my name. And I think it really connected when I was able to team up and be a part of a bigger company. And that's really where the journey began. But again, wet behind the ears, probably knew maybe 10 out of the 100 terms that you would use on a regular basis. And it was just, it was a little scary. I have a photo of that day when I was about to sit down on my desk. I took a picture of the desk. I look back at that photo, man, and I'm like, if I would have known like then how much you would need to know, I don't know if I would have went forward, man. It was pretty intimidating, but it was a beautiful thing, because a lot of people were learning at the same time. So there was other guys that might be, 3 steps ahead of you, but close enough that they still could be somewhat human and care to share. So that was cool, man. I think now, there's guys that are 10 years in the trade from just the crash alone. And, rarely do I see guys who bought paper from the previous crashes. So this was like the biggest thing, that we were all on the same playing field. And some guys had a head start. Some guys had cash, while other guys knew the contacts but didn't have the cash. And that was the position I came from. I started to meet the people who had the assets to sell, but the capital was the challenge for me. So I think I relate to a lot of guys coming from that position.
Okay, so you didn't come in this with $5 million in the bank?
No, barely $5, I would say.
Okay, so that's encouraging. That's encouraging for those that are coming in and they have the hustle, but they don't have the wallet. So, but what the pessimist might say is, hey, that can't be done today. That was a different time period. What do you say to that?
I think that's just horse poop. I think you can get in where you fit in. There's going to be some major challenges trying to vet yourself when people are looking to vet you. There isn't like a name you could throw out there that you have bought from, or to show a bank statement. So you're having to be, it really comes down to the personality you are. And, if people like you, if you're friendly, if you make them laugh, if they care that you care, that's what I was rich in. But I had no money to follow through if a deal was even shown to me at that time, So it's, I think it's only cut out for like two types of people. And the others, I think they really have to realize that's probably not for them. Because there is a lot of, you're dealing with a lot of different people, right? You're dealing with people who are charging you $300 an hour. You're dealing with people that are bending over backwards for you as far as services that they offer. You're talking to a borrower, and right there, they have to like you to even want to keep continuing talking to you. Most of the loans that we purchase are loans that have not been paid for 5 to 10 years. And when you call, they've had that call 10 times before, and they know the exact script, right? And you really have to kind of just cut that veil and connect with them quickly. And then hopefully you get their ear. And it's the same thing for sellers. It's the same thing for even servicers. Some servicers, you think that they want a new customer, but if you don't have enough volume, they're not letting you in the door, right? So you're always having to, create relationships and bring down walls from different areas all day.
You know what's interesting with that, with regards to relationships is that what I have found over the years and with being in this space is that the relationships that you have, that you build, that strategy for relationship building was on the sourcing end. You almost need that when you're working with the borrowers. You almost need that when you're working with the vendors and putting together partners and investors, that same type of personality and way of being.
And there's the analytical mind too. I think those guys do well in the space, the guys who are good with numbers and knowing how to strategize. And, those guys are the really smart guys. I try to be a blend of that, I don't feel too sharp when it comes to numbers. That's why I have a partner. He's amazing with numbers. But when it comes to the relationship building, that's really where has been my strength from day one. And, the connecting part is interesting because you see guys spend money. They go to conferences. They'll talk the talk. But at the end of the day, they don't follow up, man. And a lot of these guys are just throwing those cards in the corner. The guys who are legit that could actually change your life if they open up the doors, right?
Yeah.
Those guys are just throwing them in the corner with other stacks of cards. And if you didn't connect, you're just going to be, it's hard to follow through at all when you just didn't connect, So you have to connect, I think, instantly. And then you can start building off that relationship, but it doesn't take too much. It's just being real. I think being real and authentic. And you do have to have the hustle because, this money isn't going to be brought to you on the buy side, and the assets on the sell side are not going to be brought to you. So you have to go get it. You really do.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a whole, great divide between the rich and the poor in the note space now, whereas where the deal flow is, and there's not a lot of players at that level. But there's a lot of players still at the lower level, and they're fighting over, the deals, high price deals on lower levels.
Yeah.
But talk to me about the the younger Michael who was kind of coming up in the space. What are some of the things you did from a sourcing perspective that didn't work for you? I know that you're focused always. Hey, that didn't work. You probably forget about it, and then just move on and try. Stick and move. But do you remember kind of a few things that you did that you wish you wouldn't have done, or you would have done differently?
There's a million of them for sure. I think the going to the conferences was huge, and I approached it in different ways. There were some ways where I tried to plan, and the things didn't work out well. The conferences that were like on a last minute, jump on the plane and buy your ticket while you're at the airport, those conferences sometimes worked out the best because I didn't have an agenda. It was more about just trying to connect and people that you get introduced to, really trying to feed off of that. But as far as like sourcing, I mean, I learned fast that if that seller only sells chocolate, then don't come ask for vanilla, right? And if he only sells vanilla, don't ask for chocolate. So you should find out quickly what they do and what their model is and what their focus is and how long they've been doing it for. And then just, semi latch onto them because a lot of this stuff, that they buy comes in large bags. And there's a lot of assets that don't really fit their model. So just like me, I have loans in my portfolio that I look at every like 4 months, and it sounds crazy, but I'm really focusing on what really is going to pay now, right? And there's going to be some files that I can make money on, but I have to spend the time and the money to go do that. And if you were a smart, newer guy, you would latch on to like 20 guys like me and stay in their ear and find out what they have in their bag that they don't spend time on, that they might just want to sell. I think that was the best approach, but I really didn't try to force a lot of relationships if it didn't just come naturally. I really stood away from that, because why try to keep kissing that guy's ass, so to speak, if he's never going to give you the time, right? Now, there's, most of the bigger guys will entertain you. They'll sit down with you and they'll talk to you. But if there really isn't no follow through on their end quickly, then they're on to other things, And I learned how to kiss a frog and, see what the result was. And if I saw a chance of maybe doing something down the road, I stayed with them, And that means only at the conferences and maybe a follow-up email every now and then, but I stayed on their radar. So I don't know if there's really stuff that I did do that really I wouldn't do again.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would be more, I was really passive, man, in the sense of I wanted to get to know everybody, but at the same time, I wasn't going to yap my mouth and say I had $5 million when I didn't, and didn't even know how to play the game yet. There's deals that I look at now that I need $5 million for, but I know I have the relationships to bring that money and to fund that money, because I've nurtured those over time, right? But now I try to kiss the frogs and really force them and shake them to see what they have, because I feel like there's something there, and I know there's something there,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd say for me, it was thinking too small, for a number of years. And, I was self-funding a lot of the notes, and I would cherry pick off tapes, and I just would leave notes, junior liens with partial equity in good states. I would just leave a bunch on the tape, because I just didn't have an appetite at that time, or I was thinking small. I didn't want to pick up too much. I wasn't thinking, hey, maybe I could bring in investors and I could really grow this thing. And so I just thought like a small business operator. I think that, is one thing kind of looking back that I would never, that I want to be conscious of not doing again.
Yeah, I did that a lot too. But I think that's smart, because, in this business, you have, you go to the bat one time, and if you strike out, it's like pretty much one strikeout and you're done, with that guy. So you didn't want to really get too aggressive, because if, let's say you did get aggressive and you didn't fund it, then that looks bad. So I think that was the right way to approach it. I think now, because you have the experience and the relationships, you're willing to take that risk now. And I think you could figure it out pretty quickly now, right?
Yeah. I'm definitely on, full blown with the relationship building and transacting and doing what you say you're going to do. But I think in this day and age too, you need to, be able to take mixed bag tapes and pools and really vet them, carefully, so you know what you have, and you're pricing accordingly.
Right.
So to outdo a competitor in terms of your due diligence, I think is real key right now. Did you do anything, outside relationship building? Did you do anything? Did you try to make any moves as you were kind of growing your note business that you see didn't pan out, or it did pan out?
Well, I think the asset class, I defined my asset class pretty quickly. So I really didn't want to go outside of that. I think that's probably like the number 2 or 3 reason why people don't really succeed, is because they might be asking for everything and they don't master that one asset type or asset class. And, it's hard to master something when maybe you don't see that often. But, I remember though getting tapes in commercial loans, and I've never done a commercial loan, right? So to maybe swim in that pond was a little scary, but at least I tried it though, So I think you got to get the experience, because there's going to be guys that talk the contract for D talk, and I can't follow along with them. I know a little bit about it, but I can't hang with them on the contract for D. So I don't really look for it. Performing first mortgages, I know they live at yields, quality paper. The yields are just so low that my cost of capital is higher than that, right? So I don't really try to fish in that pond.
Someone sent me an email just about an hour ago, and they said, "Hey, are you interested in any first mortgage performing in Texas?" So when they kind of say that, I already know that first mortgage plus Texas, they're going to look for an arm and a leg. They're not going to give me any yield on that. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I almost say, hey, send it over, but I don't really have any interest. You have to know your sandbox.
Well, for the rookie guy who's trying to make money off of anything that he sees, right? Let's say he doesn't really see product too much, and then you send him a tape of like 10 loans, and there's like a mixed bag, right? The guy who receives that on the other end, I mean, you got to be a hustler at the end of the day, because maybe you don't have the money, but you need to go find someone who has the money. So for me, it was brokering first, and then it became more of the actual capital behind it, and then the guy who's managing it, But in the beginning, find out what the guy's selling, and maybe there's a fit where you can go find somebody who would buy that, and you can make a fee. And for the first couple of years in my business, that's how I did it. Was connect you with that guy and make a fee. And that's really where you start to get an idea of what pricing is on asset types and why guys don't buy certain assets because of whatever risk, But you really got to dip your toe and get an idea of the full spectrum. And then you can actually start defining it as you get more mature in the business. But I think you should be studying all the different asset types in the beginning, because you never know where you're going to fall in love with or where your capital is going to be wanting to fund and fall in love with,
Yeah. And did you do, how much due diligence did you do initially when you were doing brokering?
Oh, you know what? This is the thing. So some of the guys that I rep for were sticklers. I mean, they crossed their T's and dotted their I's. So I had to learn very fast. They would smack me in the head with stuff that I should have came with, So I would try to bring as a full package as possible, and hopefully there was minimal questions at the end. But in the beginning, it was just like checking value, looking at the house, looking up the borrower's name, trying to get an idea of who he is, just trying to get an idea of what the deal is, right? But it wasn't looking at credit reports or running Pacer or sending people out there to take a look at the value. It was nothing like that. But I'm glad you said that, because here's what I want to touch on, if possible. If you're a newbie and you're trying to broker, oh man, you can crush it if you do it right. And what that is really delivering a good quality package to your borrower or your potential buyer, right? And if you could save him time and do a little bit of work on your end, you can actually speak to the deal, and then you can actually give them an idea of what the play is. So when guys bring me loans now, if they kind of tell me, Mike, here's chocolate, here's how I think you could do it, this is the problem with the borrower, this is what you're probably going to end up having to do with this guy, that creates so much value, man.
Oh, look, Michael, look here. We got, just a few folks we have on. We have, Matt Kelly, we have Alex, we have Dan Zatowski, Val, and I mean, myself, yourself, any one of us would welcome a broker / loan advisor that would give us a full-blown due diligence package of notes, within our parameters. I mean, we would welcome that all day long. So there is a real value. So my question to you is, if that's in such high demand, why are so few people doing it and so few people doing it well?
I don't want to say that it's like the guys who are on stage preaching. I think, for anybody coming into it, you can go on Google and you can find like the top 3 guys who are talking about it all the time, who are always pushing content, right? I think it's funny because I love when I see stuff that you post and you're actually almost being so real that it almost sounds like, you're trying to discourage people to do it because you're telling them the real. While other guys are like, hey, if you have a heartbeat and a smile, you can go out and make $1 million tomorrow. So, I think it's really coming from the top down, but, it's basic. It's the same stuff every loan. You're checking off the same boxes every loan. So if the broker knew that, and I don't think guys are really teaching that, You know, I think if the broker knew what he needed to bring, I think they would do it. But they've been taught to throw stuff against the wall and hopefully it sticks. And that doesn't work very well.
Yeah, no, I think for me, it just comes from, you know, business ownership. I've been a business owner since 2004, and I don't have a W-2 job. I live off of what I do here.
Yeah.
And you know, there's times that I have cried because I have been so broke, and there's times that I've cried because I've made a good amount of money. And so it's so emotional that there's no way that you can just sit there and disguise it and just, you know, just put it out there like some type of panacea, because it's not. This is a lot of hard work, no matter which way you play, which way you carve yourself in. So let's move into funding. So you know, you get to know what you're doing, you become proficient, and you start building the relationships. Does money just magically find you?
No.
How did you get connected with people that want to be a part of your success, want to be a part of what you're involved in?
Yeah, money doesn't just come to me. I think it was groomed over time. Most of the guys who fund me now were guys that I either sold loans to be a broker for them. So I either sold for them or I helped them buy. And those are the guys, if I look right now, my top 8 guys are all guys that I used to work for and be that broker for, that deal finder. So that's how it was groomed. And I would show them a deal, and then knowing that they weren't going to fund it, but I would just give them an insight like, hey, I'm buying this deal right now for 30 grand. This is what's going to happen. Hopefully I hit it. And then I come back to them when it's done and be like, hey, I did it. Remember that deal I told you about? I bought it for 30 grand and I did this and I did it. Isn't that cool? And I did that constantly with the guys, where the next deal came up, I would be like, hey, do you want to get involved in this deal now? And then they would put up the cash, you know?
Yeah.
It was nurtured. I mean, it was groomed. It was groomed.
So they already knew you. They already knew, you know, what your character and kind of what, you know, you're about, and your thoroughness with bringing deals to the table.
Yeah, that's because I didn't know anybody who had capital before, so I had to just like organically create that, you know, because you know we buy seconds, and there's not really guys offering money for seconds as far as funding, you know, capital. There's guys offering to fund you for first mortgages, but really not much in the second space. And
that's always real bizarre to me that there's so much emphasis on the first mortgage space. I get the security, I get your head in line and all that, but you know, what I don't get is, you know, when I hear CFDs on 30K properties, and you know, I hear first mortgages on 70K properties that are worth 30K when you resell them. You know, like, I just don't get it. I mean, the junior liens that we play in, I mean, you know, low FMV is at 150 a lot of times. I mean, these are good quality properties, and with borrowers that have some means to pay for the most part. So it just seems like less risky for me. Fuquan always had a good saying. He said, you know, seconds are first. And I kind of always kind of, you know, stuck with me, if you will. Yeah. So you have now, you know, a network, a community that you've built around yourself of players in the industry. It's no longer you. I assume it's no longer you just tapping everyone. Hey, you got anything? You got anything? There's actually, your phone actually rings every now and then.
Yeah, I love to still pick up, you know, foreclosure lists and scan them for deals, but I wish I had the time, because it is coming in the other way now. But it was, you know, 5 to 7 years worth of plowing the fields for it to grow like that, you know. And it is fun when they do call with the deal, but you know, you got to go find those guys for them to know you and then bring them to you, you know.
Yeah, because you can't wait for your phone to ring. So if your phone's not ringing, you need to be making outbound calls. And this industry I think there's a lot of people that don't make it in the industry just for the simple fact that they don't like to talk on the phone. They think somehow you can build a community on Facebook and on emails, and that's it, or LinkedIn. No, that's just LinkedIn, and Facebook is just a research tool to find who the heck you need to talk to.
That's right, man. That's right. You got to go out. Hey, I've taken angles like this where, I'm a member of the Mortgage Bankers Association, right? And they have continuing education courses. So if you sign up for those continuing education courses, those people that are in the class are not guys like you or I. They're guys that are being sent there by their company to go get the education. And these guys have positions that are worth mentioning, So I've met guys through continuing education courses, in a different way. Because you're sitting with the guy for 3 days, and then next time he's like, yeah, I'm so-and-so servicer. You're like, what?
Yeah. You're like, I work in loss mitigation at Bayview. I assemble tools for sell-off.
Yeah, seriously. So what do you buy again? You're like, oh, yeah. It's the best, man.
Oh, that's hilarious. So give me some insight on how this foreclosure list works. So you get the foreclosure list and what, you go to the county and do digging around?
Oh man, guys, if you're struggling to find deals, I'll tell you now, and after this you can never complain again. You never complain.
Hey guys, you're hearing it first here.
All right, so check this out. So, public record is free, right? There's companies that you could pay to go get all the data on public record, right?
Uh-huh.
So when I go do it, I want to look for seconds, so I can flag it for second mortgages, and I can flag it for anything that was filed on public record for the last 90 days, right? And you can do this. There's a system that does like 4 states on the West Coast, and you can do this all over. So this is not me trying to create more competition. I'm just showing you guys there's a pond over there that have a bunch of fish. This is how you do it, right? So I sort by, I go California. I go, notice of default filed in the last 90 days. I go for second mortgages, and the origination date of that second, I really don't want to look for anything that's over 2013. I go 2012 or lower vintage, okay? Because if the guys that you're calling, they're not going to be the Wells Fargos or the Chases of the world. They're going to be Mike Solis LLC, right? Or their names. A lot of times these guys who fund mortgages or private money loans from their self-directed IRA has their name on it. So you see the guy, right? You see who it is. So I pull that and I start getting rid of all the banks, all the credit unions, and I get down to the private guys. And I do skip trace on those guys. I find the guy. So how you find them is you pull the mortgage. When that borrower signed the loan, that mortgage gets sent down to the county. It gets stamped on a time date, and then the original gets mailed back to the owner. So that mailing address on the document is going to tell you where that document's going to go. So there you go, bingo. John Smith lives on Cleveland Lane. That's the guy. And then you do some skip trace, and you can get his phone number. And I call and I say, hi, this is Michael. I noticed that you have a second mortgage that you're foreclosing on so-and-so street. I'm a buyer of this type of paper, and would you be willing to hopefully sell that loan? Because I know it's a pain in the ass to foreclose. Yeah. It is. And if it's a loan that was funded a couple of years ago, the guy's going to walk it out all the way through. He has to, right? But if it's a loan that's been hanging since 2006 or 2007, money's not an issue for the guy because he's been letting it drag for this long. Yeah. So, make him an offer and make him a good offer that he can actually justify giving up and taking this loss. It's a loss for him because that was real money, right? That was a loss for him, but it's really more of a pain in the ass for him. It's time and money. So he's not seeing it as I'm losing 60 grand. It's I can get rid of this headache now.
Yeah, and he doesn't see the whole loan modification. Let me work with the borrower because if he's a small investor, he just may be thinking the property, the asset is just the property, not the promissory note.
Yeah, and he looked for cash flow. That's why he lent the money. Was the guy was going to pay him 12% interest on this loan for the next 3 years, and the guys who put money out in 2007, they found out at the end of the year that no one has a job no more, and the whole banking industry fell, and the real estate values are going down. So he couldn't foreclose because that property had just diminished by like 20 or 30%, right? So those are the guys that, if you're a rookie, if you have no money, at least afford the subscription to these websites and pull data and then go make it happen, Yeah. And that's the way to do it. So here's the thing. So once this guy sells you a loan, remember, he's an investor, right? He's an investor. So not only did you do him a favor and get the headache off his lap, But now he's like, hey, now I got like 60 G's from this note. What am I going to do with it? You can go have that guy give the money back to you and then have him fund you. I mean, I've had that happen. But these are all investors that you're calling. You're building your list as you go, right?
Yeah.
Thing. I always said this, and I'm giving it away right here. So guys,
I see that.
So if I called the guy on day one from his foreclosure NOD filing, look, he just cut the check to the trustee company yesterday, right? And it's filed officially. And he's like, woo, let's get it going. If you call that guy right there, he's going to be like, nah, I'm excited because we just filed and we're going to go to foreclosure now. So he might not really be interested in talking to you. I always plant the seed and say, listen, if this guy happens to not reinstate you or pay you off, he's not giving the house up to you, man. He's not, because there's equity in the house and he's not going to do it, okay? So what he's going to do is going to file a 13. So if he files a Chapter 13, that means if he gets approved, right, if the court approves him, then he's going to be here for another 5 years, and you are too. So if you're interested in holding it for another 5 years, have at it, right? Hopefully you get the reinstatement, hopefully you get the payoff. But if he doesn't, I would be interested in buying it at that time.
And you know what to a person that doesn't note invest for a profession, what they're thinking of is, oh, I'm going to have to have this drag out for another 5 years. This guy will stop paying after 6 months. He'll probably get kicked out of the program, and then I'm going to have to deal with them again, get back into legal, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
So they're only thinking about all the complications. They're thinking 5 years of headache with this person. They're not thinking, I'm getting on the payment plan and as a secure lender and I'm going to be good.
No. And, I always tell them, listen, I have a team that supports me. So you need a team to track these guys, right? It's funny because I only know this because this is experience. I've been at the door of auction sale and the guy files bankruptcy and I'm stuck. I have to sit there and wait for him to, get the paperwork submitted and see if he can get approved. And if he gets approved, my whole exit changed. I'm here now for 5 years taking cash flow,
So we have a question from Nick here. He said, I've been working from foreclosure list in PA, but they don't indicate first or second status. Is he using maybe a bad list provider or what?
No. Even in Arizona, when they go default, from my experience, they don't list the dollar amount on the default. It's just public record that there's a foreclosure proceeding started. In California, the number that you see on the NOD, that's the arrears number. But when it comes to seconds or first, you can subscribe to like DataTree, for example. It's a little pricey, but it's worth its weight in gold. So, from DataTree, you'll see if it's a first or second.
Yeah.
And in most counties, they're almost up to speed now where everything's digital and you can see the copies of the recorded documents. But, that's the way to solve that problem, I would say, is get DataTree.
So what's the end game on with your note portfolio? So I know before, you just had that sole focus of doing the brokering or the consulting work, and then you move into getting funded. So now you pick up pools of notes, and what are you looking to do with those pools of notes?
Yeah, the majority of the loans are non-performing, so they're not paying, haven't paid for some time. My model, because I believe that we're at the top of the market now, and I don't think it's wise for me, this is for me, to build a cash flow portfolio where let's back up a step so it makes real sense, okay? So when I go for loans, I'm looking at loans that have a senior of like 50 or 55% LTV, and the second could be 85% or it could be 130% of value, right? Combined loan to value. If that senior is at like 45 or 50, I'm good, okay? I'm interested in that deal. Now, when I'm buying those loans, my job is to get these guys to pay again, because my model is to season it and then to sell it to investors who want cash flow, who are passive, okay? The discounts are like 20%, 30%. The returns are like mid-teens or higher. So if it's a solid deal where the senior's paying and he's at 55% of value, buying that second, it makes sense. And the returns are aggressive. So there's a lot of money out there looking for that. And that's my model, is to sell it to those guys. But I think as far as value, to buy loans where the senior's at 90% right now, and the guy has another 60% on top of that in the second position, once the values start to go down, that guy, forget about the second. That's like the first. That's like the first. I was like, forget about the second. The first is now has a major problem because now the guy's underwater on his first.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I think holding that type of paper, it's only good for like the next 2 or 3 years and get your money and then sell it and get out. So my model is to perform them and trade them. Now, if this was 2009, 2010, we're at the bottom. Oh, my model is to hold that paper.
Mm-hmm.
When values go up, I'm getting payoffs at full payoffs. That's the model there. But now it's to turn.
We're at absolutely. We're at the top of the market. You know, if the borrower doesn't, if there's no equity back in your second, or because you're having to buy these blended pools today,
right?
And you work with the borrower for a short sale solution, so at least you can recoup some money. Or be very flexible when you work a loan modification with the borrower to help them, not file 13 and strip you out, something like that.
Hey, Martin, are you seeing the new guys coming in that are buying non-performing? Do you think that they're focusing at stuff that has like that equity position where the senior's at 55, or do you think they're focusing on the higher spectrum where the senior's at like 85 of value? Are they buying the seconds behind those? Do you see the newer guys?
Okay, so here's what's very interesting, and I was talking to Joe Robert about this the other day, and it was Silver Bay, and it's when I was first starting to buy in 2013, I just would see so many loose notes on the ground, and there were so many with partial equity or no equity. There was that kind of thing. There was a lot more cherry picking going on. Now in today's market, it either seems like there's full equity junior notes that are where the first is performing and the seller wants an astronomical amount of money. And then there's a whole bunch of unknowns, first delinquent, foreclosure notes. So those days where there was some good balance where you could get that partial equity because you could still get it decently priced.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't full equity. But I think that a lot of people that come into the space, I think a majority of the people that come into the space still like that first mortgage model, because I think that there's that Lone Ranger JV model that's being taught still by the Walmart type trainers that are out there. Go punch up your relative for $100K and then go, buy a first mortgage note for $100K and then split 50-50 and everybody wins at the end of the day. I think that's still a popular model, but in our space, in the junior lien space, I think it almost attracts the people that really want to help homeowners stay in their homes and do loan modifications, that whole win-win scenario. Yeah. And so for those people, I think a lot they come in, they don't really understand the landscape. So they want to, they're risk adverse at first. So they just want to go to that full equity scenario. They're like, hey, I just might wait a little bit longer. I want that full equity. I know I'm going to have to pay for it a little bit more, but I don't want to get burnt on my first deal kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I think, and I'm seeing the exact same thing where there's, in the pool, you either have it's defined where senior's paying or you have it defined where it's unknown. And, you could find a lot of value in that unknown bucket, but, the price has definitely gone up on seconds. I posted that the other day. I'm like, dude, it's gone. It's gone.
I know why you posted it. I know. I know why you posted it. Yeah. It's just been crazy what's gone on the last few trades.
Yeah. It's crazy. But I think depending on certain pricing, it works. Okay, when you get really aggressive, like those numbers that we know about, I think right there, you're just your assumptions are 10 of your assumptions have to be right for you to make money because you're going to lose it right there.
Yeah. My model's a little different right now since, I'm an introvert by trade. So I just kind of like to be about myself. But, now that the book came out and I'm kind of out there a little more and I'm training some folks. I only train on a small level. And then I started to mentor a few people, just a handful of people. So that's the whole key. A handful of quality people that have capital and have good character. So there's a whole mutual benefit. And then we form a buyer's group. And then, we're leveraging each other's strengths and weaknesses, but also we are, it increases our sales force, if you will. So we have more people turning over more stones, if you will. And that's kind of my growth strategy going into this year. So we have more resources from a vetting standpoint, from a capital standpoint, so we can look at a 400 note pool and be able to run due diligence on it professionally. But then also too, we have 5 people out there sourcing at any given time. Because I think in this day and age, I think it's actually a really exciting time right now, because I think so many people are scared. So many people are, I think even veterans that have been in the space for 10 years, 15 years, they're now very nervous. They're gun shy because they only knew the good old days.
Yeah.
So they never really spent that time honing their skills and reinventing themselves. And so now they're kind of just trying to do or understand this new environment that we're in. And so that kind of leaves it open to people that have just raw hustle, who are just nonstop fixated on cracking the nut that is going to go out there. Myself, I yourself 100%, which is why I think we enjoy each other's company.
We do, man. I do. I think because you're so honest and so real, that's what really attracted me in the beginning. Because I was like, man, this guy doesn't have a hard time telling somebody like, hey, I don't think this is cut for you. Don't really waste the time. Because you've seen what happens when you go around that corner. It's no one prepped you for around the corner. They just prepped you to go straight to make the turn. But when you got around the corner, there was so much to do. And you're like, what? How do I learn this in a boot camp weekend?
Yeah. I think the boot camp should, any kind of first exposure, whether it's podcasts or books or whatever, someone really needs to think, how much money do I have? Well, first of all, you have to be good with money, right? I mean, you can't be a mismanager of money and then go out and say, well, let me make more money so that'll cure my mismanagement of money. So no, it just may create bigger problems. So you have to really say, hey, look, it doesn't matter if you're broke, but am I just good with money? Am I ready? Am I just so fed up with my crappy situation that I'm ready to just go kill it and go make a better living for my family? And if you kind of answer those questions, then I think you should answer those questions out of the gate.
Yeah.
You get into note investing.
Yeah.
Because it requires so much. It requires so much information and ongoing hustle. It's unreal.
Do you see a lot of people coming from like the 8 to 5 gig and now they want to go into the note business, or is it they were entrepreneurs over here, but now they want to be an entrepreneur right here? What do you see?
What I see is, and I may be a little biased on this, but what I see is that people that come from a business ownership, from a real estate investment, like full-time real estate investment background, that come from a sales background, do better or have an easier time breaking into the industry. That's just my opinion, because I think that they're used to rejection. They're used to bootstrapping. They're used to all those kinds of ups and downs, which the note investing industry is full of ups and downs. And I mean, it's crazy, right? You could just be like in a lull for 4 months and nothing's going on and you feel like trapped. And then boom, right? 2 large trades come out and then you have to be like full-time nonstop. So you have to go through that. And I think if you're someone that's just used to comfort, and I'm not knocking anyone, but let's just say you have like a 8 to 5 job and you work, for some government agency and everything's very safe and secure and you're not used to that emotional roller coaster ride. I think you have to adjust for that emotional roller coaster ride before you even get into note investing, because otherwise it's just going to turn you out. And I don't know, it's just my thought on it.
That's the truth, man. 100%.
Yeah.
And the ups and downs, I think the downs they could crush you. I mean, I've been in spots where You know, from the outside, it doesn't look like it's like that. But on this side, like everything's on fire, you're juggling and the house is, and you're having to catch all this stuff. It's just, it feels like, especially when you're like a lone wolf, when you're doing it by yourself, there isn't like employees or assistants or, partners. If you're just by yourself, oh man, you need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
You need a therapist that knows the note business so they can help you out,
Absolutely. And then you don't, and then the mail comes in every day and you see an attorney's letters, attorney, what that is.
Yeah.
And those amounts come in, whatever, triple digits or whatever. And, I mean, the train still moves on. You have to take care of your attorneys because then they're going to stop working on your files. And then where does that leave you?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no lie.
But I think for those that I would just say that for those that this is a turning point because we are at the top of the market. For those that do put in the work, that are continue to learn, that are just willing to make this their profession and treat it like a business, are going to do so well when this whole thing turns around and there's more deal flow. It's going to be insane. I would not leave I'd be like a note monster. I mean, I would not leave a note, unpurchased when the whole thing starts, flooding, when the floodgates lift, like I did last time.
Yes. I can't wait for those days. I know a couple guys that were here for the previous market, and they said when that happened, they were like, all right, man, let's do it. They were so excited. The business is awesome. It's very challenging. I think if you don't have the 100% hustle inside you, like that fire, you're going to struggle with it, man. You are going to struggle with it because things could sit on the burner for a long time, and people will allow it to sit on the burner because they're getting paid for it to sit on the burner.
Yeah. I think also too, it's these are the days, like you said, you had a very good, competent partner who's good with numbers.
Yeah.
When there's more loose notes on the ground, it's easier to be a lone wolf and a lone ranger and kind of go at it, and your strengths will always carry you, but then your weaknesses you can kind of make up for it because there's so much deal flow. In today's market, your weaknesses will kill you because they're going to hold you back. So you need partnerships, you need strategic alliances with other people that are going to complement you. So every weakness is someone else's strength. So, know what your weaknesses are through self-reflection and go out and find competent people that have strengths in those areas and go make some magic happen as a result. I think that's so critical in today's market.
Yeah. I love to hear that, how you surrounded yourself with guys who have the integrity, the hustle, and the money. That's amazing.
And they're technical, and I mean, they're coming up with systems and programs and tricking out Excel and all this stuff that I'm not technical whatsoever. It's a joke. They don't even allow me to run a point on our calls anymore because it takes me too long on Excel. So I have no technological skills. I got just pure passion and hustle. That's really what I come with. And so they're elevating me, right? So they're lifting me as I'm hopefully lifting them, and we will all benefit as a result.
For sure, man.
At the end. Well, cool. So Michael, I have a question here for you. Brett said mastermind of brilliance. Brett he's funny. Okay, Jamal says, what percentage are you offering for second notes?
That's like asking, does your car go fast? You're like, yeah, compared to walking, it goes faster compared to walking. So I get the question. I think he's asking, like, what are you seeing? So in what type of scenario? Like the scenario that I like to buy? Is that what he's asking?
Well, he just kind of leaves it at that. I think maybe a good ending point is if you leave your information, and then people can reach out to you and get signed up with you, so that if you do have any deals or anything that you need, to bring in partners on, or you're selling off notes or what have you, they can be on your list for that.
Awesome, man.
Probably the best thing. So in the comment section, in this webinar, when you see it on Facebook Live, when you see it in the group page, put your contact information. And then because people are watching these videos just well outside our time here, and they can reach out to you and connect.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hey, if there's passive guys who buy cash flow, I'm your best friend. I'm your best friend.
Now, what yield? What's the yield range?
Oh, the yields. You know what? I think, and you know a lot of the guys that I sell to. You know, I think at mid-teens is a good return on stuff that has equity. Where the senior is at like 55 or 65 of value, right? The second, I mean, and the discounts are like 20 or 30%, and you're getting like mid-teens. So that's quality.
Yeah, can you send me what you have? I'm purchasing reperformers now.
Cool.
Then I don't even care about full equity or partial. I mean, I can vet the bar pretty well. So
Okay.
If you give me a better yield, then we'll be talking. But yeah, send me what you have. You have my email.
Would love to, man. Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. Okay, so here it is, everyone. Michael Salas, One Oak Advisory. This guy is our time together. I mean, very special, very meaningful. This guy is a true player. I'm glad I can have him on because, in 5 years, 10 years, he may not even acknowledge knowing me. So it's
never. I'll keep it 100 for sure.
Very good. Very good. Well, Michael, you take care and be good. And thanks for everyone for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Mark. Sweet. Hey, you're so kind, man. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, brother.
What do you got going on today?
I'm going to go. We bought some notes, or I bought some notes rather. So I'm just setting up collateral. I'm setting up my paper file folding system. Nice. So it's like, doing the labels and scanning the notes, digitizing everything. And so.
Hey, when you go through your due diligence, do you normally build all that stuff there, or do you